The end of October is getting active as I'm monitoring an area of potential tropical development in the Caribbean, as well as the potential for severe weather in the central U.S. Will this be the very last tropical system we see of 2024? And will this be the beginning of severe weather season in the U.S. returning? We're about to find out. But before we get into that, like, comment, subscribe, tell me how I did in the comments below. And so we're going to start the video off in the US, so let's go ahead and get into that. The last couple of weeks have led to a ridge dominating the eastern US, and this has led to higher than average temperatures all across the board, as we can see by the CPC outlook. But what I'm looking at here is what I would call a wave train of troughs diving down and digging into the central U.S. as we get into November. This is typically what we see where, you know, temperatures begin to slowly cool off, or they'll remain warm rather for a while, and then you'll have a big, sharp band of cold air come through from the northern hemisphere. Now, what will this lead to? It could either lead to cold blast without any effect, or more oftentimes, this is what we call a secondary severe weather season because during early November, the U.S. is typically warmer than the air coming down. And if we look here, the Storm Prediction Center has already issued a day 3 marginal risk for Kansas, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Nebraska, and so on. So we're really beginning to see the effects of the digging trough that we're going to talk about here in a minute. They also did issue a day 4 slight risk covering northern Texas, Oklahoma, western Arkansas, far western Missouri, and eastern Kansas. So, severe weather season is indeed heating up. Now let's go ahead and talk about the trough that is going to ignite this and the moisture advection with it. Alright, now let's go ahead and take a look at moisture return. Moisture return is a pretty healthy indicator of what the atmosphere will have to work with when that trough moves through. So, how the trough will, so the trough itself is going to come through and then it will help advect the moisture up as the trough is moving through. So you can think of the amount of moisture return um, being indicative of the strength of the trough, and really that is very much determined how warm the Gulf is. So when all of these play out, uh, you need adequate moisture return to ignite storms so that way the environment has enough to deal with, has enough storm fuel to deal with. So we're going to go ahead and pull it forward here. We've got, see, we're looking at, yeah, so right here, that is enough moisture. So we're looking at 65, 63 degree dew points. Let's go ahead and click on a sounding here. And yeah, I mean, I can definitely see severe weather happening here. I'm not really ready to call out hazards yet. We're 3 or 4 days out. In a video I do tomorrow, I'll be sure to update y'all on that. But as it appears now, the severe weather threat is definitely looking likely. And I have a feeling that as we go into November, severe weather season is going to make a return, probably all the way up until the end of the month. So the TLDR is that we know severe weather is going to happen somewhere in the U.S. within the next 3 or 4 days, but what exactly and how it will pan out is still relatively unknown. We could be looking at hail and damaging winds, or we could have a slight tornado risk. And as the days progress, I will be making more videos talking about the convective allowing models so we can get into a lot more detail with that. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the tropics. And like clockwork, the National Hurricane Center has gone ahead and issued a 40% chance of tropical cyclone development within the next week or 7 days. And so we've been slowly keeping an eye on this, and we knew at some point this was going to occur. So let's go ahead and look at the ensemble agreement with how this might develop and where it'll go. And then we're going to go ahead and dive into the GFS run. Um, as I'm filming this video, this model is coming out, so we'll go ahead and see what its output is already, and then we'll go back to the 12Z run from earlier this morning. So let's go ahead and pull it forward here. We're quiet, and here we are. So Halloween afternoon, so that'll be October 31st into November 1st. We've got decent agreement that some kind of tropical low will develop down here in the Caribbean. Right now, though, we've got a decent amount of spread, so there isn't a well-defined hot area, if you will, of where this will definitely form. You know, we've got some members forming a 998 millibar low down here, another one being a 994, another one being a 986, and so on. So we're going to keep pushing it forward, and that is about the end of the current run. But on this frame, some models want it to develop over here in the eastern or the southeastern Caribbean, and then others want it to develop down here further south. At different times at that. We're 3 days from when it initialized. So we could be looking at November 5th, or we could be looking at October 31st. So let's go ahead and look at the 12Z real quick, because we have the entire model suite, and we're going to keep moving it forward. And again, oddly enough, the 12Z is in much better agreement in one particular area of development. So it's a lot easier to, lock in on. So let's go ahead and move it forward. And then, see, the 12Z is a completely different run. The 12Z has a 969 millibar low headed right for Tampa. Take that with a grain of salt. I shouldn't even have mentioned that, but it's something to note. While we've got a lot better agreement down here in the Caribbean, and then we get a pretty decent explosion of agreement looking around Puerto Rico and into the Dominican Republic, or to the west of that region as well. Alright, and with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the 18Z GFS run from this afternoon, and kind of get a better idea of what it believes might happen when this does develop. So we're going to go ahead and push it forward here, and we're quiet, we've got some tropical moisture down here, but it really doesn't consolidate until basically after Halloween. So we're going to push it forward. We've got a 992 millibar low down here in the Caribbean on November 2nd. A trend I'm beginning to notice with the GFS in particular is it keeps initializing later and later, which is very, very good for U.S. impacts. So, and we'll talk about this as we continue through the run. So we're going to go ahead and keep moving it forward here. We've got a 975 millibar low developing down here in the Caribbean, and we're going to keep moving it forward. And we've got basically take it with a grain of salt, a landfalling low-end hurricane in the Dominican Republic or the British Virgin Islands. So the reason I'm saying take this with a grain of salt, this model has been getting later and later with every run, okay? And I'm going to tell you why this is good. So you remember earlier we had talked about that trough that was digging down that's going to cause severe weather in the U.S. Well, I'm going to keep moving this forward, and we're going to see this tries to make a curveball toward Florida, but if we look here, look at this. All right, I'm going to run it back. So right here, we've got this trough that, as you can see, I don't know if you guys are able to see it. I'm going to zoom in post, but you can see that trough coming right through the U.S., and that's going to help push this hurricane away from Miami and push it back out into the open sea. Now, I would be a lot more alarmed if the GFS were initializing this earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier. because it would have a lot more time to develop and get its act together and then curve into the Miami coastline. But things are looking better and better for the CONUS. But where my concern really does lie is down here in the Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Turks and Caicos Islands. All of y'all folks down here need to be monitoring this because this could be really something to watch, and it could turn into something pretty serious within a very short period of time. And yeah, so with all that being said, the end of October is looking very active with both, a severe weather setup in the U.S. and potential tropical development in the Caribbean. Um, we're gonna keep monitoring it, man. There's not much we can do right now, but keep making videos and updating you guys on my level of concern and U.S. impacts and anything that comes with this. But if y'all did enjoy, click like, comment, all that stuff. It really does help out the channel quite a bit. And yeah, so I'll be making a video tomorrow. I hope. I should have a video out either tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. Kind of updating you guys on model guidance and see if the National Hurricane Center see what they're saying. So without any hesitation, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace out.